Hi, everyone. It's your fabulous, crazy Aunt Suzie here for Susie's Fabulous Sex Cast. And oh my gosh, today, our special guest is the wonderful, the gorgeous, the lovely Dr. Jill McDevitt. And let me tell you something. She's a sexologist, sexuality educator, sexual wellness coach, and what I love most of all, an unapologetic, feel-good activist on a mission to radically improve the way we think about and treat sexuality and ourselves here and each other in the United States. Oh my gosh, there she is, Dr. Jill. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you here. And I guess I understand you're like in San Diego right now.
I am in San Diego.
Oh,
unfortunately stuck inside like everyone else on this beautiful day.
Well, also on the line here with us is my producer, Ashlyn Barry from Susie's. Ashlyn, how are you?
Hi, I'm holding up over here in Las Vegas.
And I'm here on the 30th floor overlooking the empty Las Vegas Strip, where there's nothing but horny people, Dr. Jill, horny people who haven't touched anyone, who haven't seen anyone. And I said, everybody is so excited about listening to this podcast when we air it tomorrow, about you and your advice on what you can give people during this time of sexual crisis.
No, it's such a hard time right now. It's unprecedented, and I am here to answer as many questions as I can about what the heck we can all do about our sexuality and our desires at this time.
So tell me, so has your business tripled, quadrupled? Have people like called you and written you? Has it just gone over the top?
At first I was worried, like I think many of us about my business, but it turns out sexologist is one of those fields that in a crisis people need, because our human sexuality is so a part of who we are. And when we go back to basics right now, with just kind of food and safety and, just the basic human needs, sexuality is one of them. And we all have a lot of questions about how to stay connected and how to stay pleasured during this time. Yeah. So things have gone very busy for me. I've been busy.
Right. And pleasure is something a lot of people are trying to satisfy themselves with at this particular moment. So, okay, first let's get this out of the way. Why did you become a sexologist?
I became a sexologist because when I was a young teenager, and I know a lot of people have similar experiences, maybe you had one too, where I was really confused and embarrassed about changes. I was embarrassed about puberty, about my sexual feelings that I was having, all of those things. I was just confused. I didn't understand. I was ashamed. And so, I have abysmal sex education. And so I wanted to make that experience better for other people so that they could understand their bodies and their emotions and their feelings better than I did and not feel that shame and embarrassment. So since I was about 14 or 15 years old, I wanted to study sexuality and help other people understand it too.
Wow. So that's how you became a sexologist. Because, there's a lot of people who are, listen, in America, they get upset because a woman shows her breast on the beach. In Europe, they could give a rat's patookie. But we still have like these weird, what's the word I want to use? Like this weird old adage about sexuality in this country. It's like everything's taboo. Oh, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. And, and it's almost a double-edged sword, because we also, on top of some people's attitudes on sexuality and what they see on TV and porn and pictures and whatever, we live in a world of social networking and apps and things where, the like when you watch television, like ABC, NBC, CBS, they're very funny about what they put on television, but yet you can click over to Showtime, HBO, and you see sex going at 90 miles an hour. It's just crazy. It's just crazy how people are when it comes to sex. And I think what I'm excited about are people like yourself and other guests we've had on the show who have talked about, just blasting open the doors and feeling free and having the freedom to talk about sex. Because a lot of people, I think, go through life, and tell me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of people who go through their entire lives and don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what an orgasm is. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we have this relationship with sexuality in American culture where we talk about it, but we don't talk about it in honest ways.
Right.
It's to sell a cheeseburger, but it's not to talk about it like authentically about the human experience of sexuality and to be a sexual being. That part is what leaves people ignorant, right? And they don't know their own body or how to orgasm or how to, have a relationship. Yes.
So
it's more of that, but I'm trying to help clear that.
Right. There's a lot of clueless people that are horny in this world, and they don't listen. They don't understand what can change in their lives if they just open up a little bit. Open your mind, So do you think this whole quarantine thing, okay, has it dampened or enhanced most people's sexual habits? Or do you think it's a combination of both?
What I've found so far is that it's been a combination of both. And where I get mad is, I do good work with the lovely people of CalExotics, and we've been putting together some Q&A questions for people.
Oh, I love them. I love them.
So they're fabulous, and I think they do a really good job with sex education as well as obviously it's their sex choice. And so they have me answering their customers' questions and my clients' questions, and there's been some preliminary research coming out of the Kinsey Institute already about people's sex lives during the quarantine, and all this together leads me to believe it's a little bit of both. Right. Some people are feeling extra horny, extra aroused. Their partner is home with them. They're both home from work. They are feeling lonely and they need a little comfort. And some people have the opposite experience. They're feeling very stressed, or they just don't feel like it, or they're like, no, thank you. So I think it's a little bit of both, and both are normal.
Right. I mean, at my age, and for the past 30 days, the only time I hear I'm coming is when some asshole's waiting for the elevator. That's the only time I hear. That's the only time I hear it. I'm telling you. So, I mean, I know I'm so wrong on so many levels. So, okay, what do you recommend? Okay, what do you recommend for couples in quarantine that may be fighting or struggling with having so much one-on-one time? Because you were just saying, people are depressed, they don't want to touch, they don't want to do this. But do you have any recommendations for couples on how to spice stuff up?
Yeah, I have a few because what I'm finding for folks is that this is uncharted territory. And so I want to remind everybody that it's okay to kind of like sit in the emotions. So, I think what I'm finding is people are making a bigger thing out of like, oh, we're fighting. What does that mean? Or we're fighting a lot, or we're really getting on each other's nerves. And we don't have to draw a conclusion from that. These are bizarre situation and abnormal situation. So if you're feeling more fighting, more struggling, more stress, like that doesn't necessarily mean anything's wrong with the relationship or it's an indictment on the relationship. Just showing yourself and your partner a little self-compassion that you're feeling a lot of emotions right now. And I think that can help us very, very far. Like I think that can take us very far when we just kind of pause and think, you know what, like I'm going to go easy on myself. I'm going to be a little gentle on myself right now because this is sadness. I think in addition to that, I think the more you can have moments of pleasure and joy and fun and connection, it can offset some of that stress and getting on each other's nerves and being cooped up feeling. So the more you can like have an interesting conversation, have a pleasant sexual encounter, even if it's just taking some time for some smooching or some kissing, having some dates at home, just the more fun you add into your life, the better balance it is for all the times that you're kind of bickering.
So is this a good time to like get into role playing?
Take out the aggression.
Take out the aggression. No, okay, you can be the secretary, I'll be the boss. Or you can be the student and I can be the college professor. You know what I mean? Is that something that people could get into?
Oh, sure. I think role playing is about taking yourself out of the present and putting yourself into this imaginary situation. And if the present moment is unpleasant because of all the stress of what's going on, that could be a great way to just connect and have some fun. Like a little fantasy, a little imagination.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about, I think you just have to be creative, I mean, a lot of people are I think one of the biggest complaints besides being horny and not having human contact are people are eating too much. So maybe they should get into like, whipped cream and stuff like that to spice things up.
Bring up such an amazing point. I'm so glad you said that. That's a refrain I've repeated a lot over the last few weeks is we got to get creative here, people. When we follow a sexual script, already there's problems with that under normal circumstances, right? It gets people in ruts. It's very gender defined, which gets us into problems about who's allowed to do what sexually. But then you add this situation and it just makes it compounded worse. So the more we're able to be creative, the more we're able to broaden what our definition of sex is and include things like role play and phone sex and erotic storytelling and other things that could spice it up, the more this is going to be easier for us.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what you can do with a can of whipped cream. I'm telling you. Well, it's been a while. When you're by yourself, you just kind of look at it and go, okay, whatever. But, what about, okay, so we're talking about couples. What about single people? What about people that, like myself, I'm stuck here on the 30th floor looking at an empty strip. It sounds like a porn title. But anyway, But, that a lot of single people, and I was just talking to a friend of mine before we went on the air, and he was like saying, oh my God, I'm going crazy. And he goes, what I found is that a lot of the hookup apps, there's still people on there trying to hook up. And my friend was like going, that's crazy. Are you nuts? I'm not going to fill my lungs and die from this just to have a hookup. So there are a lot of single people that are looking for something to do. What would you recommend? What was it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great time to really center masturbation in practice because, for instance, a lot of times I talk to people about masturbation as a learning tool, as a lot of ways that you can use masturbation in your life other than just pleasuring yourself. And for instance, doing mindful masturbation, and we're spending a full hour doing edging or doing like different masturbation techniques that take some time. And the pushback I always get is, who has time for that? And now you do, right? So now people have the time to don't just look at masturbation as some quick thing to like washing your hair. Look at it as sex with yourself in the same way with the foreplay and getting into it and experimenting and trying different things in the same way. It's the perfect time to try out some new sex toys, try out some new masturbation positions. And then as far as the connection with other people, there's a lot of cool things that exist thanks to technology with apps that don't try to get you to set up with somebody in real life.
Right.
But like back to old school like sex chats and like you remember like 90s like the cyber sex chat rooms and things like that.
IRC. Remember, you used to call it IRC, Merc, whatever. I remember that there was that. Oh my God. Yes, I'm dating myself.
I do, yeah.
But
I bet Omegle and Chat Roulette and stuff are really, getting a lot of traffic these days.
I was just wondering that and Zoom. You could have a freaking orgy with people all over the world.
Yeah. It's like you said, getting creative again. Getting creative and thinking outside the box. Yeah.
Wow, I think I'm going to make
also remembering this is temporary. This is not like a fix for life or forever and ever and ever.
Right.
This is like a temporary situation. And try and keeping that in your mind, too, because it lessens the panic, I find.
Right. Ashlyn, you got any things that you need to get answered over here?
Yes, I do. Hold on one second. But I will add, just to the conversation about apps doing something interesting, Tinder right now is doing Tinder Passport.
Tinder's doing what?
Basically like Tinder Passport.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So you can, if you turn on Tinder Passport, you can basically chat with anyone from anywhere around the world. So you could be chatting with, men in Paris if you want to or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. It's super interesting. Yeah, because it takes the pressure off of you're trying to actually hook up with them physically and allows you to just be erotic with another human through voice, through words, through sound, through text, and still get that connection.
Right.
Yeah. So Dr. Jill, we're talking about sex, phone sex. I know for a lot of people that can be super, super awkward. I know for myself it can be super, super awkward. So how do we get a little more approachable without feeling like, oh my God, I'm not a poet, I don't know what to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is such a common question. And no one likes my answer. And that is that it's going to be awkward. And that's not a bad thing. I find that there's a number of sex acts, and phone sex and dirty talk is one of them, that just feel so awkward that sometimes we avoid it because it just feels so awkward. And my question is always like, when did we decide that sex shouldn't be awkward? Because just like any skill that takes practice, we aren't going to be good at it at first, right? And I think that's where the awkwardness comes in, is we have to be vulnerable. We kind of expose ourselves. We could be open to ridicule if we sound silly, and we're not very good at it at first. And it's the same thing with like playing a violin. If you've never played a violin before, all of a sudden you have to get up and play one in front of an audience. You'd be like, this is awful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the people who get good at playing violin are the people who keep doing it. So that's, just one of those things where lean into that awkwardness and be like, having a sense of humor, I find, can be really helpful. Being like, we're going to sound silly. This might be ridiculous, but let's do it anyway, and frame it like an adventure and exploration. And then you can turn up the steamy factor later and make it more sultry or erotic, but it can be silly at first, and it can be awkward, and that's okay. That's not like a bad thing if it is awkward. That said, some ways you can try and make it feel less awkward is going back to this erotica idea, is using someone else's words first. Mm-hmm. So rather than trying to come up with your own content, you can start with like getting a book or websites of folks who submit their own erotica and just read it out loud together. And that can help you find your voice and make it less awkward because it's not coming from you. So if your partner's like, ew, that's a weird story and that doesn't turn me on at all, it's not your word, so it doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah, it's a new meaning to having fun with Dick and Jane. Let's rewrite the book right here. That's what they could do. Wow. That's like, okay, so with CalExotica and yourself, so what are there any particular, for instance, like toys? Is there a particular toy? Okay, this is for the couples that are stuck looking at each other all day when they're not looking at the refrigerator or Netflix. Do you recommend any cool toys for couples?
Yes. CalExotics has a really cool line called Lock and Play. And they all come with this vibrator that locks into place in underwear. It kind of has these flaps that are magnetic, so it stays in the crotch of your underwear.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Yes. I love it. Oh my God.
And the other person, and there's different ways, some have a remote. There's one that looks like a wristwatch, looks like a smartwatch.
Right.
And it's up to 36 feet away. So for instance, right now I'm sitting in my home office. My husband was working from home in my living room. He could theoretically be pushing buttons that are on a vibrator that I would be wearing in this situation, right? So we're not.
Oh my gosh, I want one. That's so cool. I mean, brings a new meaning to depends. It depends on what button I push. I swear. Oh my God.
And then turn it on or turn it off, or turn it off right when when they want it to not be turned off.
Right. It's like cock teasing, as they call it. They're teasing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, how much fun. Oh my God. I never knew such things existed. Now I do. I'm going to get one. I think it would be funny to forget to take it off and you go to work once it's all over. Could you imagine being in a board meeting? Okay, this is what's happening. And you're like, when I'm calling you.
Well, luckily it's a nice and quiet vibrator, but you might not be able to hold back your vocal
Right. Just you would be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, okay, Ashlyn, remind me to go on the CalExotics site and order one of these. That's just,
Yeah, you can actually go on the Susie's mainland site and order the panty teaser right now, and we're going to have more of the toys coming next week too.
The panty teaser. I love it.
Yeah, there's one that's a panty vibe. It's super cool. I have it. Oh man, it locks in any pair of underwear with like a magnet. So you don't have to have like one pair of underwear that it's hooked to. You can hook it to whatever you want.
I guess that another reason that nothing comes between me and my Calvins. I swear. So I love this. I'm fascinated by the panty teaser. I mean, I met a few in my life. And they didn't have a remote control, but it's pretty cool. So how about, okay, so what's the number one toy you would recommend for the ladies? Single ladies.
What I'm loving right now is it's called the Trundle Kiss by CalExotics, and it's a different kind of motor. So it doesn't, I mean, it vibrates, but it kind of is like goes through your skin. Like so you feel the vibrations like deeper into the layers of the skin. So it's not just a surface level. It kind of really resonates deep into the skin. So it's a very different sensation, very powerful. And I am really into that right now.
And how about for men? What's the number one toy you'd recognize? You'd recommend for men?
Do you know about the master ball?
That sounds like something I'd go to on Halloween, but no,
what? We talked about the master ball with Nicole briefly, but yeah, Dr. Dill explained what the master ball is.
Yeah, what is
it? So
it's
like it's a round toy that goes in. There's a hole through it, so the penis goes through it. But it's round, so it makes it pretty ergonomic to hold. And then it has all of these ticklers facing the inside. Then it vibrates, and it kind of has this like undulating kind of compression feeling. So it's like kind of stroking, kind of pressing, kind of vibrating, all at the same time. It's quite lovely.
Wow. That is just amazing. So there are many ways people can basically satisfy themselves during this crazy quarantine, because it looks like, I mean, we still have, what is today? The 15th? What is today? The 14th? We still have 15 more days of this. At least. But at the end, of course, they're talking about, adding time to it, but still 15 more days. And a lot of people are going batshit crazy right now, Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, okay.
It's hard.
Yeah. So, what are ways long-distance relationships can enjoy a sexual connection with each other, other than phone sex? What's another way?
Yeah. So, I think about how great the technology we have now to stay connected. And I think of things like video chats and being able to, enjoy mutual masturbation, get to watch each other,
right.
Get to do stripteases or play even in ways that in real life you couldn't do. Like, for instance, you could do a video sex chat in which you only show a particular body part, or if you were together in person, obviously you'd see all of them.
Right.
So like just the mouth or just the genitals, or just the nipple or whatever to kind of tease visually. And there's also, I guess I keep going back old school with some of these suggestions, but like there's something about the old fashioned written letter. So I think that could be a really fun and sexy surprise to get a handwritten sexy letter, like a snail mail that could, so I think, again, goes back to what you said, being creative, and the more ways that you can have sex and consider sex acts to be sex, the better we're going to feel. So we can consider video chat sex, we consider phone sex, erotic letter sex, then we're going to feel more sexually connected.
Wow. I'm sitting here looking that you have 3 degrees in human sexuality. 3 degrees. You have a PhD, an MAD, and a BA. I mean, so that's a lot of sexuality in your degrees, so to speak. And you're the only one on the planet who has those 3 degrees. Am I right?
Yeah. Wow. That is correct. So, if you have to be the best at something, right?
Right. And this all started with a little girl at 14 going, "What do I do?"
Yeah.
Wow. So how long did how long did it take you to get all 3 degrees?
10 years.
10 years. Wow. Wow.
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I
Ashlyn.
know.
Ashlyn. I know you've got a ton of questions over there.
I always do.
I know. Ashley kills me. We're usually together in the studio, so I cannot look into her eyes and go, Ashley, I'm passing it over to you here.
Yeah. So, Dr. Jill, I know you have a book coming out about a bunch of different kinds of dates you can go on. I'm wondering if there's any of those you can share, or any of those that are applicable to people who are in quarantine that can't go outside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, dozens and dozens. Because when I was working, I had the experience. You know, my husband and I did all these odd and silly and unique and fun dates, and then the book came after. And so a lot of the dates were designed for, you know, that Tuesday night where, you know, your option is to sit around and watch Netflix. You're not going to necessarily go out and about. And what can we do to stay connected, have some fun? And so a lot of those dates came out of that. And it's everything from we bought a Lego set and built Legos, and we do, you know, a lot of baking together, and we do a cool game that we use the 5 senses, where you have to try and get the other person to guess random household items just by smelling it or just by touching it and things like that. So again, the creativity is the theme of today's episode, I think, of just finding ways. We've had done coloring. We built a living room fort out of blankets and couch cushions, and then got in there and watched a movie, and, you know, watching college courses, because some colleges will live stream or they have recorded video up, and Yale actually has old recorded courses. So we take a college class, or, you know, on and on and on. So many different ways that you can stay connected, have fun, spend good quality time together inside.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's what's missing for a lot of couples, is they feel like they're limited to, you know, being bored or, you know, bickering. They don't have anything to do. And I think that kind of creativity would help a lot of couples not feel like they're going to, you know, rip each other's heads off.
Yeah. And so I think, yes, because the quality is the important thing. We're sure as heck spending a lot of time together with the people we live with now, but it's the quality. And so the quality time is what becomes really important with making sure the relationship stays sustained and healthy and happy.
I just think I think people should start doing like cooking naked. I mean, there's all kinds of cool ways to occupy yourself, you know, and enhance the couples while they're sitting around. Instead of just eating and watching Netflix, they should get kind of creative. It actually could add a new spark to their love lives, you know? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seriously thinking.
Well, yeah. So, Dr. Jill, you recommended a great toy for women. But what about women who have never tried a toy? What would you suggest for them as a good starter?
Yeah, we had a lady about a week ago who'd never had a vibrator. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know, that social messaging, that sex is bad and
right,
goes deep for sure. Always like to, you know, the classic bullet is a great starter vibe, and the butterfly kiss, you know, the classic for a reason. You know, some things are just good and popular for a reason, and I've long recommended those two for people who've never used a vibrator before, because they are, I call them the little black dress of sex toys. There's so many ways you can use the bullet. You know, you can use it for clitoral, you can use it for massage, you can use it for oral sex. So it goes on, and they're simple, straightforward, you know, not too many buttons to intimidate. So I've often recommended those two.
Wow. This has been truly fascinating. Truly fascinating. I'm sure this particular podcast is going to help a lot of people when it goes up. I tell you that, because I'm just amazed at how many people are just really frustrated on top of everything else. And if your advice can help alleviate some of the stress some of these people we're all going through, then it's a good thing. really is. So tell me,
Sex toys and self-compassion.
There you go. So, Dr. Jill, when this is all over, we need to have you to come back on so we can actually get you to answer questions with some of the people that listen to the podcast. Would you be willing to do that with us?
Oh, I would love to come back. Absolutely.
We'll get you with the CalExotics folks. We'll just have we'll have a gangbang on Podbean. There you go. We can sit and talk. Ashley, before we move on and say goodbye, anything else you got to ask, my love?
This is kind of semi-random, but it just popped into my head because I'm sure Dr. Jill has an answer. But
Okay.
I know a lot of people are probably at home watching a lot of porn. Is there a point where it's too much? I know people have struggled with that in the past. Do you see that being a problem with people after this is over?
I don't. I think it's just like anything else that's entertaining. People enjoy it. They're going to do it. And when they have something more interesting to do, then they'll probably do that instead. So it's not something that I'm worried about. If it becomes a phenomenon where people are watching it more after all this is done, I'm sure sex research will be all over it studying it. But I don't think so.
There's always been
now, for sure.
Yeah, there's always been porn addiction. This is what I think there's a difference between porn addiction and just, boredom. And you give me something to do. So I think there's a big difference there on that. But
I'm not concerned about that.
Right. Well, you have been absolutely incredible to come on during this craziness and quarantine time. And we are definitely going to hit you up once things get a little bit uncrazy in the world. Dr. Jill McDevitt, sexologist, educator, wellness coach, unapologetic. We love her so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Jill, for all the advice you've given us. And I'm hoping to, you get to come back on soon. And we can have, like I said.
And where can we find you on social media?
Yes.
So my social media is Dr. Jill, and then you'll also see me a lot at CalExotics on Instagram. I spend a lot of time in both.
And we'll put a link on that to our Podbean episode when it goes up tomorrow, so people will be able to get a hold of you. Well, you have fun. You and your husband have fun in your little tent in the living room with the pillows and the blankets.
We will. The 2 cats at the party.
Oh, you got cats too? Oh my God! It's the Tiger Queen and King. Dr. Jill, thank you so much. Ashlyn, you're a doll as usual. And this is Crazy Aunt Suzie, and here's been another episode of Aunt Suzie's Fabulous Sexcast.